Welcome to Basketball on Figueroa, the only podcast breaking down everything happening with the Lakers, Clippers, and Sparks. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and joining me today is Dar-E-N Viziri, aka the best middle school coach in the Los Angeles area.
Oh man, thanks, man. That's a good compliment.
How you doing, Di?
Episode 20.
2020, yeah, we got it.
I'm not I was gonna say I'm doing well, but got some tough Clipper losses to talk about, including one that I know you've been waiting for.
Yes, we have. We're gonna jump right into it. Yeah. The how we're doing is interesting because in general I want you to actually answer it, but I get it, right? We will say I'm good, and it's like, oh, how am I doing? I just had technical difficulties with my camera, and I just dogged 2 yogurts so I wouldn't be hungry for the next hour. That's how I'm really doing. but overall things are good, and we're gonna jump right into it with the games. We have a lot of games. Standing watch is getting more and more interesting, so I can't wait to talk about that. But let's jump into it. Because the comment section, I haven't talked to you about this, Dime, so we're going to do it on camera. But the the Dime Dropper comment section is not the biggest fan of me on the internet. Mainly just I think because of my affiliation. It's not like I don't think what I actually say. It's just kind of like, well, you're on the other side, so we got the smoke. I want to see what you have to say this week because Lakers Clippers happened. Lee eviction notice is in effect 60 days. 116-112. The Lakers won. Did I think the Lakers were going to win? To be honest, no. We've talked about it before. The Clippers have been the better team. But we also talked about the Lakers having that number. And the game was going your way. Everything was going that direction. And in classic, it's like it had to be like this. It was like a movie script. Okay, and then they collapse. And they collapse with the last time and all the drama and all the things. And again, the greatness of LeBron James. People get tired of it. They get sick of it. They get bothered by it. Well, guess what? Until one, he stops doing this, or two, teams get good enough where it doesn't matter as much anymore and the results just don't happen. It's going to be something we're going to talk about because it keeps coming up. But go ahead. I kind of set it up there. Lakers got the win. They had, what was it, the biggest comeback in I don't know, however long. It was ridiculous. The numbers, I think it was like in LeBron's career, at least. I think the Lakers have had bigger ones before, a few 30-point games, if I recall, in like the early 2000s. But anyway, Time, I set it up. Spike it down. What happened in Lakers Clippers?
Man, I was there, and I was able to get a ticket. It was a good atmosphere. I want to say about 60% Laker fans. Last year when I went, 2 years ago when I went, it was like 70. But this year was like around 60, it felt like. Obviously I was in a Clipper fan only section, so it was definitely harder to, take the number properly. But I heard so many different answers from people. But regardless, yeah, it felt like we had you guys, remember, no Paul George or Zubats in this one. You guys were missing Vando. And that was the game that Cam Reddish came back, correct?
Yeah, Cam was back.
And so, no excuse though from my side. We were up 21 in the fourth quarter, and then Darvin Ham got you guys to start blitzing James Harden, and Mason Plumlee had some big turnovers, and you guys took advantage, and LeBron had one of those three-point shooting games. I'm tempted to say this was easily his best game against the Clippers in his entire career. I really think it was. The most memorable by far. We've had his number as a Laker. And then with Miami and Cleveland, he didn't have too many memorable ones. We would always, Lob City had a pretty solid record about beating the Heat when they came to the Staples Center. And then I remember there was one game we played them in 2017 and Luc Mbah a Moute locked him up. But Luc Mbah a Moute was a great defender. But this performance, his 3-ball was just going. He got the crowd going. And how about some big shot making at the end by D'Lo? I think Ty Lue was really criticized here for how easily he was allowing the switches. Daniel Tice. LeBron really kept picking on Daniel Tice and James Harden, and mainly Daniel Tice. And I was really critical of the fact that Kawhi, he got outplayed by LeBron again, and LeBron started guarding him. He wasn't really attacking it. And then on the other side, he was, it seemed like he had no resistance to the game plan or, and again, that also comes down to me I shouldn't hold Kawhi to the Jordan, LeBron, Kobe standard of, if I don't agree with the coach's scheme, I'm going to say, screw that. I got to do this. And I think Kawhi has that in him when it's desperate, but he wasn't desperate enough. With the way it's got to be to the point where we're not switching Kawhi off LeBron. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna show on the screens. Don't just switch super easily, but we didn't, and you saw a lack of clutchness, killer instinct to me by the Clippers, finishing that game off. I mean, how many open threes did Norman Powell get? Like, he just wasn't able to hit. So really disappointing loss. One of the most disappointing to hear. I mean, if I was in another section, I would have really lost it. James Harden,
Yeah, you would have.
James Harden had 23 points and 9 assists. So I thought he was pretty solid, but in the fourth quarter, he was really nowhere to be found. And that was partially because they were blitzing. And then Norm, was 2 for 9 from 3. And, not having Paul George definitely hurt us. So good win for the Lakers. They definitely have had the better of us this season. And it just, even though we didn't have Paul George, I just don't like that matchup in the playoffs because the home court advantage thing really bothers me. I would rather have home court, like for real, not 50-40, or I'm sorry, 50-50 or 60-40 split.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think a lot of what you said was right. For those who missed it or didn't watch it, which I assume it's very few people because, it's a Lakers Clippers podcast. I think you watch Lakers versus Clippers. Makes sense. But you never know. People might have forgotten. It came down to the wire still. Again, it was a 4-point, ultimate result. And really, it was a 2-point game because that's what the score was when the Clippers had the final offensive possession that they had. And again, like you said, Kawhi had LeBron on him. Didn't get the switch. It was Kawhi, LeBron, and LeBron took care of business. He defended him well. If you look, he didn't go for the block. He did the classic, like put the hands in the face to try to obstruct them. I don't know how much that factored in, but Kawhi did miss. And then Lakers got the rebound, threw it to Cam, who dunked it to kind of make it a 4-point game. And okay, now there's 1 second left. This is over. Just toss it in. And that's exactly what happened. Like you said, LeBron got on a heater, and there's been some really good LeBron performances in losses. I think the first game of like Lakers Clippers, when it was like the season opener, when LeBron when Kawhi just first got to LA, I think that one LeBron might have played better. The Clippers won that game, but I think I remember LeBron like really being like, it was like both teams were aware we are season favorites, like let's go, and it was like from the jump, kind of that high energy. That game he might have played better, but obviously that was in the loss. So I can definitely see how this was a better one.
I think he had a better game that season against us. Was that third one at ABC when you guys made that like kind of that authoritative 2 wins against Milwaukee and the Clippers on national TV to say, you know what, we're the best team this season.
And, that was another one too.
Really well there where he was getting to the basket on us, and then we were doubling. He was finding the right guy every time. That was like the first time in my entire life when we played against LeBron. And I was like, man, he's kind of frightening me, feeling how East Coast teams felt. In this game, I was like, yeah, let's get the ball out of his hands. He was doing some great things. And then I think the biggest shot of the game was that D'Lo no
gather 3. Yeah.
No drop 3, no dip 3. Nicholas Batum used to be expert at that. That was such a backbreaker. So, and he's been doing that, D'Lo. He's been really hitting clutch shots with the Lakers. So really good win.
Yeah, great win. All right, we'll go ahead and move on because we have plenty to talk about both teams. So let's go ahead and get on to the next one. So after that matchup, Lakers Wizards the next day. And I was actually off this day. Normally I'm working on Thursdays, but I was off. The reason I mentioned that is because it's going to relate to the story here. So I didn't watch this live. I watched it after because I knew 2 things. I knew the Lakers were going to win, and I knew it was going to be a bad game because the emotional high of playing that game, and it's on a back-to-back. I wasn't even sure if LeBron and AD were going to play, but I did say on the pod they would, and they did. So shout out to them. They're playing their games. But I'm like, I just knew. People were so surprised that the Lakers did bad. I'm like, this is what this team is. They play good against the good teams, and they play with their food and even lose against the bad teams. That's what they've been like all season. So I don't know why people were so surprised. It's the Wizards, Kyle Kuzma, of course, he's going to want to ball out against his previous team. Jordan Poole, he's had a very down season, but, he can still get buckets. And, he's in LA. He just feels himself. And there you go. Lakers weren't taking care of business. And guess what? We got ourselves a dogfight in the fourth quarter. Ultimately, the Lakers were able to get the win overtime. I think the whole time after I watched, I already knew the result, so I watched it with the result in mind. But the whole time, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. You could tell who the better team was, but you could tell they were underperforming, so the other team was taking advantage, and the score was tight. But at the end of the day, it got a little dicey, but they came out with the win. So it was an ugly win, but it's what I expected. When we're watching Lakers Wizards, what was your thought process? Did you were you like me, you thought they were going to kind of have an ugly game, or were you surprised by kind of how it went down?
I thought it may not be the prettiest performance by you guys, but I thought they would still take care of business by double digits. The fact that they allowed 69 points in the first half to them, I was like, what is going on? And that fourth quarter was amazing. I mean, Kuzma and Jordan Poole, they had kind of what I would actually, no, I do not want to say what we expected. I think it was what we expected Jordan Poole to be closer to this season when he was going to the Wizards, to have games like that more often. I mean, he's been a complete disappointment. But Kuzma was just really hot in the fourth, making some tough shots. LeBron obviously wasn't going to have the same exact three-point shooting kind of night he had against the Clippers. I mean, that was, even though he's shooting so well from three this year, that's not normal. He was really hot. I know LeBron's game very well. When he hits that second three in a row a good amount. But when he hits that third three in a row, that's when you know he's really hot. And LeBron, when he was young, he wasn't the best shooter, but he was very streaky. When he got going, sometimes he could be unconscious. And that was kind of what it was like against the Clippers. But against the Wizards, I thought he also made some huge plays late, great passes in the pick and roll, and just scoring as well, knocking down some threes. Went to overtime, so it was an exciting game. But ultimately, they got the job done. And I don't know, LeBron to me and Anthony Davis were the standouts. 40 and 15 to go along with 4 assists and a steal and 3 blocks for AD on 14 for 22 shooting. And how about 12 for 13 from the free throw line? And then you had LeBron with 31, 4, that's 4 rebounds and 9 assists on 12 for 24 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3. So he still shot 40% from deep. So at the end of the day, it was all about getting the job done. And that's what you guys did. But yeah, it wasn't pretty to allow that many points, 131 to the Wiz.
Yeah, ugly win. But like I always tell people, ugly wins are better than pretty losses. So I'll take the ugly win, especially this late in the season. Get the win. Do you wish it was easier? Yes. Do you wish they would have came out and said, hey, let's end the game early? Sure. But hey, end of the day, that's not what's going to matter in the standings. It's going to say that they won, and then we're moving on. So we're going to also move on. The Wizards stayed in LA. They went and played the Clippers. And the Clippers, that was a different game, right? Clippers took care of business. They won 140 to 115. Especially, if you can talk about that first half kind of, and the second and third quarter to me is where they really kind of dominated. The first was a little dicey, and the fourth was kind of garbage time. So talk to me about what the Clippers were able to do in the second and third quarter to really kind of take control of the game.
Well, we got Paul George back. That was nice. And then James Harden went ballistic in the second quarter. He had 5 threes in a row. So I wasn't at this game. I was coaching. But, yeah, big time performance by James. Solid performance by Paul George. And I thought it was just like no defense. So it was pretty easy for the Clippers to score. 22 for Paul, 27 for Kawhi. And then James with 28 and then 8 assists. So I thought it was a really solid all-around game. The tough part, the injury to Russell Westbrook, fracturing his hand. Going to be a tough loss, Edwin. I mean, obviously brings us so much energy off the bench. He does have games where he's not playing it that he's not going to play well, of course. And he was not in good form before he got injured. But he's still Russell Westbrook. Even though he can lose you a game, he can single-handedly win you a game with some big plays in the fourth and just in general. And you just love the life that he brings to the home games, the momentum-changing plays, his toughness, so his passing, and his ability to get to the rim. So it's going to be tough missing one of the vocal leaders of the team, especially when this team has a tendency to be a little quiet, lethargic, and look a little bit older. Russell Westbrook, despite being 35 and being the oldest of the 4, he might be the most athletic player on the team. So
yeah, he might be.
So it's going to be tough. It really opens up the opportunity for Bones Highland that wasn't going to be there. Now he's got his backup opportunity.
Yeah, and I think, of course, it goes without saying, but let's say it anyway. Regardless of what team you root for, I'm always rooting for no injuries. Injuries stink; they suck. Every team has to deal with them. No one. We want everyone healthy. I want everyone healthy, and then the team I root for to beat the crap out of the team that's healthy and fine. That's what we want. And yeah, of course, we all know that's also not going to happen. That's professional sports. Injuries are going to happen regardless of where we want. Like it just happens. So, and here's one of them. That's why I always say, to win a title, you have to be good and you got to be lucky. And part of the luck is not getting an injury bug. The only good news on the injury is, one, not that Russ is a minor player, but he's not the biggest of the big on this roster. And two, it looks like he might, according to Shams' reporting, he's aiming to return by playoff time. And Russ is a veteran. He's got incredible chemistry with his team. He understands his role. It's not the biggest role on the team, but it's not the smallest either. So I think that helps. If he's healthy and can give it a go, I think you can quickly just slide him right back to his regular spot and not miss a beat come playoff time.
You're
And
saying
I think
you're saying returning in the playoffs, not even a couple of games to get warm.
I think ideally he would return a little bit before, but if he was returning come playoff time, I would still not be too nervous depending on where you guys end up, right? It all depends on the matchup. Hopefully, ideally, you're going to have a first round matchup with a weaker team, right? Like that.
Who's a weaker team, bro?
We'll get to the standings later, but I don't know. Right now, Dallas seems like a good team for y'all to play, you know? If you end up in like a 3 seed and they're like the 6th or something, or New Orleans, wouldn't you take New Orleans? I think at this point.
I'll see. These aren't good matches. New Orleans owns us in the regular season, but they aren't. Yeah, they're not. Zion has never sniffed a playoff game before, so there is a level of inexperience, and we do have the best.
And if you have home court in this scenario I'm talking about, you'd be like a 3-6,
and definitely the best player in the series.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about in that scenario. So yeah, I wouldn't worry. Obviously, ideally he gets 3 or 4 games that final week. He can kind of ease in. But if he didn't, I would be less. Wouldn't be as long as he's good to go. That's the main thing. If he's good to go, I wouldn't be too concerned about Russ. I'm like, Russ has been in the million playoff series. He knows what to do. He knows what time of the year it is. He's been on this team a whole bunch. It's not like he doesn't know how to play with these guys. You went through those growing pains with Harden and Russ and Ty Lue and Kawhi and PG. So that been there, done that. He's one of those players who can kind of get implemented way easier compared to, let's say, the Lakers are trying to do the same thing with Gabe Vincent. That's gonna be way harder. Gabe Vincent's not that level of player, and he only played 5 games at the beginning of the year, and they were bad. So bring him in late March. You're gonna try to, but it might be just too tough to do. Versus Russ, there's a history there that makes me feel more confident and comfortable with that. So hopefully he comes back. Hopefully he's ready to go for the playoffs. I think you guys will be fine in terms of wins and losses. I don't think there'll be too many games where you're like, see, this is why we need Russ. We would have won this game. I think they'll be able to tread water for the couple weeks while hopefully he gets better. But of course we don't know. So it's just something we'll have to keep an eye on. All right. After that, we had, now for anyone who's been mad that I've been kind of happy, that ends here. Lakers Nuggets, 124-114. It's just, I think the entire league already knows this, but the Lakers know it probably the best of anyone. I don't know if you know, Dime, but the Lakers were swept by the Nuggets in last year's Western Conference Finals. I get reminded almost every day. I could show a picture of a sunset eating ice cream and they'll be like, he forgot the Lakers got swept. Like that's kind of been the MO there. But it's not only the sweep. The sweep's fine. Again, I don't really care about that. A loss is a loss. Obviously, it's the worst way to lose, but it's a loss. But what's really demoralizing is all the other games after. They just cannot beat this team. It's like Mike Tyson in Punch-Out or something. It's like, come on, man. Like, give us one. No, we lost on their ring night. We lost on the Kobe statue unveiling. We lost on the 40K game. Like, every single game, something awesome is happening or something interesting is happening outside of the actual game. And it's just spoiling it or celebrating them, calling us their daddy and beating us. Like, it's just been so rough. And what's also rough, there's different thoughts people have. Would you rather lose in a blowout or lose in a close game? The Lakers have lost nothing but close games to Denver. 8 games in a row. It's the same story. Fourth quarter, it's tight. And guess what? Denver goes Jamal Murray, Joker pick and roll. You can't stop it. And the Lakers can't stop it. And they get oh so close. They're 2 points behind, 4 points behind, 3 points behind, but never get over the hump, never cross over that threshold. And that's exactly what happened. You could literally play any of the other games and make your comments, and they'll probably match exactly what happened in this game. So, Dime, besides what I said, why can't the Lakers beat the Nuggets even one time?
The Clippers had the same struggles. They're really good. Jamal Murray and Jokic, they're very clutch, especially Jamal Murray. I mean, the guy makes the big shot whenever you need it, and he completely kills momentum every time. He's a crowd silence king. He's a crowd silencer king. Like, it's just, and I think it's his array of shots. He has counters to everything. He's fundamentally sound. Just reads his defender, and just can hit contested jumpers, and it's from everywhere on the floor. It's not just threes and layups. He can post up smaller guards, and I don't know, he plays at his own pace. And then Jokic is the best player in the world. So some of the shots he's making, like that bank shot he hit, it's ridiculous. So, and
He did that
LeBron
in game 4 as well. He did that in game 4. That was when I knew we lost that game. I'm like, you're hitting off the bank on 1 foot at the 3-point line? Yeah, it's over.
I mean, when you see him hit these shots over and over, it's not just, well, Jokic made crazy shots. This is what Jokic does.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about these two. And then Michael Porter, 10 for 10. I mean, he had a great game. So
great, perfect.
Yeah.
He didn't miss a shot, and it wasn't just 10 for 10. 5 of them were threes. He hit all those. Like, yeah, it was demoralizing. And Aaron Gordon, he doesn't get enough flowers. He's so good at that role he plays, and he's also physical. He guarded LeBron a few times, and again, you can't stop LeBron, but he was able to handle him for a player or two here and there. And I think that was a key as well. He was able to kind of take some of that load, and then he had a couple good breakaway dunks. And yeah, the team's just so well constructed. No one steps on each other's toes. We talk about sometimes Reeves is forcing it, or AD needs to be aggressive. Like, you really don't have those complaints about the Nuggets. You feel like everyone does their job, everyone knows their job, and they execute the job. So you really do have to play a perfect game to get one on them. It's going to be tough to get 4 on them unless they fall into some kind of injury or someone just loses the ability to shoot for a week, which is possible, but that's what you need. You need like MPJ to go 2 for 13 instead of 10 for 10. So unless an anomaly like that happens, it's going to be really tough to beat that team 4 times. Not too many teams are equipped to even attempt it. I think that's the issue. You need a couple of bigs to at least throw at Joker just to slow him down. And like we were talking about off camera, like there just isn't that many elite bigs in the world to kind of even have a couple to throw at them. But that's going to be a tough out for anybody in the West for sure, in the NBA, really.
Yeah, I mean, how about Peyton Watson? 3 blocks. Like, he was really impressive as well. And then they had 5 guys in double figures, one of them being Justin Holiday, who was 3 for 5 from 3, 5 for 7 overall. And then Murray with 24 points, 11 assists, Jokic with 35, 10, and 7. And then Aaron Gordon at 18, MPJ at 25 and 10. Like, these guys just bring it. And I also just want to give a shout out LeBron. After the All-Star break, he's been exceptional. Very good in this game as well. AD, a little quiet in the second half, and it felt exactly like the conference finals conversations over and over again.
Yeah. And I think I think it's fair to say, hey, AD, you didn't even kind of show up in this game. I'll give people that, because I heard some people. The funny thing is, I heard more people saying, why aren't people saying it, than people saying it. But that's kind of how that goes. But I'll be honest, yeah, that's a fair thing to ask. One, Joker's better. Like, Joker's just better. That's just a fact, right? I don't think I'm saying anything controversial. And AD has to figure out, how can he should have been guarding him more. Rui did an okay job, but come on, Rui cannot be guarding Joker. That's a mismatch. And 2, even when AD guarded him.
That's what was the whole plan, though, in the playoffs last year. Remember the adjustment?
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I would have preferred, and we'll see, the Lakers and Nuggets won't play anymore unless there's a postseason matchup. So that's done for the regular season. We'll see what happens if they do play in the postseason at some point. I really want to see Ham try more bigs, try 2 big lineups, put Wood out there, put Hayes out there. I'm not saying they're going to stop it, but it can't be Rui. Like, he just can't do it. He gave a good effort. I'm not mad at his efforts. Like, you're just undersized. You're too slow. You're not strong enough. You're not big enough. He's going to just bully you. Like, we need someone who, I think he can bully Wood less and Hayes a little less. So just throw some bigger bodies at him to try to combat it. Because I think going with Rui just wasn't the move. And then when AD did it, it looked the same. He just wasn't getting pushed around as much. But okay, you forced Joker into a tougher shot that he also made. So it's like, all right, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for misses or passes outside of that area, so someone else has to beat you. And that just didn't happen. Joker was able to do whatever he wanted. So yeah, it's a tough puzzle, tough thing to figure out. But AD has to figure out also, even though he's also, it must be demoralizing to give all that effort and energy and still get cooked. But then I need you to wash it off and go out there and score on him, because we need you to score. Because it's really bad when he's defending him, not stopping him, and then also not producing offensively. And that's where we end up with AD being like, okay, Joker dropped 32 and you got 12. Like, you got to at least put up your numbers. So it's a little better. Okay, you got 24, you got 31. He's better than you. I get it. And I think that's something that AD has to work on and the team has to work on. Hey, we got to feed him. I know you're exerting a lot of energy, but we need you offensively, especially if you're getting killed on the other end. You got to give me something. This is a double negative at this point. So that's something he's got to work on, because he had a rough game as well, and everyone kind of did. Not in terms of like the result, right? It just wasn't. No one was happy after the game. Reeves talked about that. He had a career high in assists. He had 14, and he's like, "I'm not happy because we lost, and we've lost so many times, and like that's all we're thinking about is that we can't beat this team, and it's close, but it's getting frustrating that we're always close. Can't even get a lucky win, So that's just kind of how that goes. But they'll have to try to figure that out.
Detroit and Cleveland, Edwin.
Oh my God, here we go.
2016 first round. They got close, but they got swept. No one remembers that. With the Lakers, we barely lost. They own the Clippers right now, but Clippers beat them last time.
That's true. All right, so Lakers can't figure out that Nuggets puzzle. Thankfully, they don't have to play them again unless there's some kind of second round matchup. So we'll see if they have to deal with the Joker in the postseason again.
Maybe the first round. What if it's 1 versus 8?
You think the Denver's going to get the first seed?
They could.
They could.
Well, when you check the standings, you're going to be surprised tonight.
Okay, we'll do that in a few minutes. All right, for now, we're going to check out, speaking of top teams in the West, we got Clippers versus T-Wolves here. And in this one, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. 89-88, Clippers W. Another one came down to the wire, came down to the end. I believe you got a couple of clutch free throws from Kawhi at the very end to kind of seal it there. Old school game, right? Like what the other one's 140, 130, 120. This is 89-88. So let's start with that. Dime, why was it such a low scoring game?
Actually, great defense from both sides. We know what Minnesota's going to bring defensively, but the fact that the Clippers were able to clamp down like that, I mean, Zubats definitely makes a difference, but part of it was, and the funny thing is we were down 15 in the first quarter, but Paul George started guarding Karl-Anthony Towns and getting physical with him, and he was starting to cause some problems, and then we started double teaming and leaving McDaniels open, and this time McDaniels didn't have a double-digit scoring game like last time where he was hitting tough shots, attacking closeouts. He just had 6 points on 3 for 9 shooting and 0 for 4 from 3. And the Ant-Man settled a lot. So it was kind of a slugfest. James Harden went 0 for 10, but he had 10 assists. Norman Powell was the reason we got going offensively in any way. And then Kawhi, at times we've been critical of him, not shooting enough, not being super aggressive. 26 shot attempts. Paul George had 16. PG didn't have a great game, but he had 7 in the fourth, 15 points. But Kawhi had 32 on 12 for 26 shooting, which isn't even that bad, 46%. And he went to the line 8 times, made 7 of them. Big time performance by Kawhi and Norm. And the fact that we beat them feels good because, Edwin, remember I was saying how terrible that matchup was. One thing I think helps in that particular matchup, as I said last time, Westbrook, that matchup is not for him because he's getting most of his baskets at the rim, and they have the best rim protector in the NBA in Gobert. So not having Russ, I think, actually may have helped. I thought Bones' defense was really solid in the minutes that he was in. Not bad at all. And Daniel Tice closed the game, not Zoo. And I think that was to have a little bit more of a threat to space the floor. Even though he didn't make his threes, it still offers a little bit more of second guessing from the big than having Zubats out there. So big time win. One of my favorites of the season.
Yeah. I'm not sure. One, I don't think I would get an honest answer from players about like individual matchups like this against certain teams and like how much it matters. They kind of give the cliche, every game's important and blah, blah, blah. I know fans, obviously, they do circle these games on calendars and think about what happened last time and this and that. I'd be very curious if we could, put some truth serum on and be like, okay, for real, did this one mean a little bit more? Like, did you really want to get your lick back after the last one? I believe the last one was right before All-Star. And like you said, it was a very bad loss. I wasn't too worried in terms of like the Clippers position because I felt like it was a bad loss, but I've seen enough of the Clippers to know in a series that it wouldn't go like that every game or whatever, like I think they would get one. But like you said, you still want to see it. Kind of like same thing with the Lakers, Denver. I just want to see you win. Just win one so I know I have a proof of concept. Like, oh, there it is, right there, right? And this is that for the Clippers. I was like, okay, had that bad game. They dominated. They looked great. Guess what? We play them again a few weeks later. We look good. We beat you. Cool. So there we go. So if we do our job, we know we could beat you, and it'll be tough, but we can do it. Okay. It gives you some confidence knowing that you can take care of business. And the Clippers, I think, like you said, one of the best ones this season against these elite teams. And it's turning out most of the West is pretty elite at some point. They're all pretty good. It's good to get those wins, especially against teams that are a higher seed than you, even if it's temporary or the gap's not that big. So yeah, I thought it was a good Clippers win, and I wasn't too surprised. It went down to the wire, so I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But either way, they played way, way better, and then of course they got the win, which is what matters most. All right, Clippers Milwaukee. Dime, this one was I gotta ask some questions here. Because Kawhi had an interesting game here. This one was a surprise for me. I thought you guys had it in the bag, and then I'm actually watching it at Crypto because I'm covering the Lakers game, but I'm there hours before, and I was just kind of checking it. I was watching, but like not watching. I was checking first quarter, second quarter, and then I'm like, what's going on here? And then I went from watching to like now I'm sitting down watching. I'm like, okay, I'm locked in because is Bobby Portis about to light his team up? And he did. And I'm like, what is going on? Your best bud, Doc Rivers, just taking care of business. The Bucks have been on a heater. I think what is it, like 6 in a row now, and they're looking good. We'll get to their standings in a little bit, but what happened here? I thought the Clippers were going to take care of business, and then it just turned the other way. And you got some interesting performances out of Boston, and some I think not worrisome, but like disappointing ones from the Clippers. So what went down? Why did Milwaukee end up winning this game?
It was almost an exact replica of the Laker performance. 3 quarters, very solid. Honestly, but the Lakers, we were playing even better in that game. We were playing okay in these first 3 quarters. Paul George and Harden had a good first quarter. But man, that fourth quarter was just a disaster. It started out with, first of all, Dame looked really good. And, no Giannis or Middleton in this game. You got to get it. But Dame, we were starting to kind of blitz him at the top, and their other guys were just making shots. So Ty was like, okay, let's go small. But he played Amir Coffey the whole quarter, and he wasn't really having a good game. Same with Norm. No Terrence Mann in the fourth, which was kind of controversial. And then we took Zubats out up 5, and he never saw the floor for the rest of the game. And yeah, he was getting attacked in the pick and roll, but see, that's why I think when people criticize the coaching so much, they don't realize it's tough. It's not easy. This Bucks went to a zone though, and I got to give Glenn credit. He actually made a good adjustment for once in his life. And when we didn't have anybody in the dunker spot, it was kind of just 5 out against the zone. Sometimes nobody even in the middle of the floor. And when we did get somebody in the middle of the floor, Brook Lopez as the center came and picked him up. And Kawhi wasn't even scoring on Brook Lopez. And he even had opportunities on Dame, didn't get a great shot. And it's a lot of games we've talked about over the last couple of years, the Kawhi not closing very well for the Clippers. Like he runs out of legs or something. And Paul George, he had a pretty solid fourth quarter statistically, and James Harden had a pretty solid fourth quarter. He looked like he was going to carry us home. But Paul George missed 3 free throws in the fourth. And yeah, I mean, the 3 free throws were a killer. Mm-hmm. And then James Harden, thought at times he took a little too long to get into our stuff, dribbling a little too much coming up the court. We got to give the Bucks credit. They were tenacious defensively, and they made every shot in that fourth quarter. Bobby Portis, Damian Lillard, they combined for 24 points in the fourth alone. And we choked. Like, there's no other way to put it. Just live by the 3, die by the 3. The zone got us to shoot threes. And I hate the approach to zones. We don't put a guy in the middle of the floor. And the fact that we can't get by a center when it becomes like, the center picks him up and everybody kind of picks up the closest man to him. Couldn't score on that or take advantage. So I don't know if we have to switch Kawhi's minutes rotation into playing the whole fourth and just some of the third, but he's not good enough in fourth quarters right now for me. And Paul George and James Harden, seems like they can't bail him out when he has a bad game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting in the playoffs. That I think you're right. They might have to kind of adjust the shifts.
Well, I would say if you're going to do that, though, you're going to do it now, the last couple of weeks before the playoffs, to me. Get him used to it.
You think Ty's going to actually do that, though?
He's not going to switch up on a dime, I promise you that.
Yes.
Well, just give him minutes. You'll just rest him less.
I think it depends on the matchup. Again, and once we actually get, like, Clippers lost or they're down 1-2, I think that's when you might see a switch. But I agree with you. I think you have to find a way. to have him have enough legs to go the fourth, right? It's funny because the Warrior fans have the opposite argument. They're always mad when Steph's resting. Like, yeah, it's because he needs him for later. So, like, he has to rest somewhere. Like, he can't go 48. Like, I'm sorry. It's got to happen somewhere. They're always mad whenever it happens, right? So like you said, it's always it's tough coaching because people don't understand. Well, like, so I don't have all the no roster's perfect. Every decision is going to have an other effect that you're not thinking about. And yeah, probably not bringing Zoo in is a problem, but he's like, Zoo's getting me killed. So why would I bring him back? He was getting destroyed. So it's a tough thing to kind of balance out. Lakers have similar situations. Who was it the other day? Did we already talk about the game? Let me see the schedule here. Yeah, that was the same issue Laker fans had with the Nuggets game, right? D'Lo was getting cooked, and they took him out. They brought Reeves in. Ham didn't want to put both on there because of how elite MPJ was and all that. And I get that, but I'm like, D'Lo is one of your best players. But I understand Ham's logic. He's like, yeah, but one of my best players tonight is getting destroyed. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, we're trying to win the game. Like, I got to go with people who I think can maybe not get killed. So it's always a tough thing. And then when you don't get the result, it only creates more questions because, like, okay, well, it didn't work then, so you were wrong. It's like, maybe not. We don't know the alternative. It might have been the same result, but these are the kind of things that we'll have to get.
If our players made threes, nobody would be talking about no coaching.
Yeah, exactly. You got to hit your shots, right? Yeah, the coaches aren't playing out there, and there's still enough to get it done, especially with the Clippers scenario when they had the win. And that's what I tell fans about Ham. Of course, after the game, that's all anyone talked about. The Nuggets lost. Ham. And I'm like, look, they've lost 8 in a row.
That was controversial. Didn't close with D'Lo.
Exactly, and I get that, but I'm like, look, they've lost 8 in a row. I think at some point you have to admit that maybe it's not the coach, maybe the other team's just better. If it's 8 times, he wasn't wrong all 8 times. Sometimes he had the perfect scenario, and they still. So, yeah, it's always tough to figure out. But when you lose, of course, that's going to be the time when people are going to be able to talk the most because you didn't get it done. And the Clippers weren't able to get done against the Bucks on Monday, but the Lakers also had a game. And they went ahead and played the Thunder, and they took care of business. 116-104. I was nervous about this game, like maybe 2 hours before it started, Dime, because, the Thunder have such a good record, and they've been playing well. But then I started doing my own research on, like, the pregame and thinking about the matchup. And the more I looked at it, the less concerned I was because I saw that the Lakers had the season series kind of in hand, and they also had LeBron, who's had great games against the Thunder every single opportunity. So I started feeling a little bit better about the matchup, as I got to crypto and was getting ready to kind of, do the pregame and all the kind of work I had to do. So I started feeling a little bit better about the matchup. And then the matchup started. And once the matchup started, I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I was worried about. The first quarter, Thunder are kind of rolling with things. I think they started off like 24-8 or something like that. It just started looking really bad. And I was like, oh, great. They just lost to the Nuggets. Now they're losing to another great team in the West in the Thunder, and things are just not going well here. It's going to be back-to-back losses, and with how tough the standings are, which we'll get into a little bit, I was worried this was going to be another Laker loss. But turns out, at that moment, that's when they really got going in the first quarter. The offense started clicking, and the defense. It was the best defensive performance I've seen from the Lakers since the play-in tournament. That's the last time I've seen them like at that level. There's a thread I shared it on my Twitter. The Lakers official
play-in tournament or in season.
Oh, sorry, in season. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the in season tournament. They had some great games against the Pelicans and the Pacers and the Suns too. I think people forget. There's one clip I really love from that Suns tournament game right before the kind of the semis happened, where they stopped KD and Booker didn't even get a shot off because the Lakers defense was so good. They had a 24-second shot clock violation, and they had multiple times where they had the ball and they just couldn't find it. They kicked it out, and it was 24 seconds. I was like, wow, amazing defense to stop those guys from even getting a shot up. Unbelievable. And there was quite a few times that happened last night as well. Not shot clock violations, but just really tough shots, and the team was struggling. There's a nice thread the Lakers did on like this is all the defensive like kind of highlights, just defensive highlights, and they're all so good. Everyone's helping, recovering, trailing, everything was just on a string. And Ham is actually more of a defensive coach. That's what he likes to do. That's what he wants to be about. So I'm sure it's been frustrating having the offense kind of going a little bit, but the defense giving up big numbers, but not last night. And what was so impressive about that defensive performance was it was the whole game. until maybe like the last 3 minutes of garbage time when it was literally just like, the G League guys and Hood Shafino and stuff like that out there. But the rest of the game, they were solid. They never let the Thunder have any idea or any hope that they were going to win the game once they took over. After halftime, that was it. It was never in doubt. They stayed on them. They stayed defensively strong. SGA had a really rough game, 5 for 13 from the field. He still got 20 points, but that's because 9 came from the free throw line. We know he knows how to get to the line, but he wasn't able to score. Chet wasn't scoring much either. He had 15 points on 14 shots. He was getting destroyed defensively as well. And midway through the game, I think everyone kind of came to the same realization. Oh, the Thunder have no way of stopping LeBron or Anthony Davis. And if you can't stop either, that's it. That's it. There's nothing you can do. It's bad enough you can't stop one guy. You can't stop either. And they were just like, it was like bully ball. They were just like, I'm going to get to the rim. And then the 80's like, I'm going to get to the rim too. Like, hey, no one can stop this. And the Thunder just don't have any answer. And people were kind of talking after the game that, hey, this is a terrible matchup. They just have no response for the two best players. You can't have a scenario where that's where things are. But that's where they are. So, Dime, tell me what you thought about this game and this OKC Lakers matchup.
I was gonna go as far as to say it was the best defensive performance of the season. I mean, the way Austin Reeves guarded SGA, I was like shocked, and even Spencer Dinwiddie blocked him one time.
Yeah,
I mean, really impressive performance on SGA. He didn't even play the fourth quarter, and then I think AD, man, he just has this team's number. They're too small, like they're too thin on the front court. You guys, if I were you, I would want to play the Thunder, badly. That'd be an interesting first round. Be a lot of pressure for the OKC. And then, I mean, LeBron had a very good game again, but the D'Lo show in the fourth, oh my God. Like when that guy gets hot, it's like, shoo. I think you're seeing that the Lakers are playing really well right now. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. You're always the best version of this Laker team is always more D'Lo, not less. And you're seeing it. He's starting to perform all-star caliber impact a lot of nights, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And his numbers have gone up since the start of the new year. He's averaging like 21, 6, and 4, I think. So 21.6 assists, 4 rebounds. He's been incredible. And yeah, that was the cherry on top of the sundae because the Lakers already had the game in hand for the most part. AD didn't play the fourth because they didn't need him, and LeBron played until like the 8th minute just to make sure they didn't need him. That's basically how they were going about it. They're like, hey, LeBron, kind of stay with most of the guys, and then once it's done, we'll empty out the bench, and that's exactly what they did. And right before LeBron left, around like the 9:30 mark, I think that's when, like you said, D'Lo really caught fire. He hit not 1, not 2, but 3 threes. And I have to be professional. I'm there at the game. I can't cheer. It took everything in me not to be like, oh, when he hit that third one was ridiculous seeing it live. And it's funny because, I was talking with the other beat writers when we were there. And right before he took the third shot, now I sound like I'm telling one of those LeBron stories, but I'm being serious. I was like, oh, he's going to, he's got to go for the third one. That's 2 in a row. He's got to go for the third one. So I was disappointed when I saw him pass it to LeBron. I'm like, come on, you got to take it. And it was so funny. LeBron immediately was like, man, get this ball out of here. You better take that shot. And then D'Lo just shaked and baked. I think it was Williams. And then, he hit that 3 falling on the ground. Crowd just erupted. You know how crypto can get when it gets energetic. And it was just like, oh my God, that was just amazing. So yeah. When D'Lo's on a heater, it's so fun watching him be prime Steph Curry for like 4 minutes because when he does it, it's just like scary, And he, like you said, he does it often, and he's having a career year for the Lakers. He's had better years, in Brooklyn when he was an All-Star, so he's not at that level, but he's playing really, really good. The best he's ever looked in a Lakers jersey, and definitely one of his top 2-3 seasons of his career. I don't know if you know this, Dime, but he is 24 3-pointers away from being the franchise leader in 3-pointers in a season. That's all. If he hits 24 more, he'll have the high. Right now, Nick Van Exel has it at 180, I believe. And he's at, I think he's at like 164 or something like that. So he's right there. I think he'll hit 24 more threes before the season's over. I mean, he hit like 6 yesterday. So yeah, it's amazing. Like when those stats are gonna come up, and when you look at like the best point guards specifically to play for the Lakers, it's a short list where D'Lo's probably top 5 in terms of that position. Obviously Magic's ahead of him, and D-Fish I think's ahead of him, and after that, I think you can make a case he's there.
Let's see. Let's go with Magic. What do we consider Jerry West? He's a combo guard, but like, what do we?
I consider Jerry more of a combo, so I wouldn't say he's a PG.
Okay. The thing is, though, by definition of the way it is now, D'Lo would be considered a combo guard. You know what I mean?
D'Lo's funny. He doesn't consider him a point guard. If you call him a point guard, he corrects you. He's like, I'm not a point guard. Yeah, he does.
Okay, so then in that case, Jerry might have to qualify for considering D'Lo.
Okay, let's do that. Let's add Jerry.
Magic and Jerry.
Cool.
And then I'll go with Fish, Nixon, and Van Exel. And I'd say D'Lo has a chance to break in for Van Exel.
Okay, yeah. I think
Fisher, right? I said D Fish, right? Third?
You did. You said D Fish third. Yeah. That's what I said. I think he's a chance. He's like top 5 probably. I would have to rewatch the Van Exel years. I remember them a little, but not great. Besides the highlights and I do remember it, but like not that
popular than D'Lo was in the city at that point. He had to have been.
I feel like
the team.
Yeah, I feel like Van Exel was like kind of around here like the Lonzo years, where it's like, look, we're not winning that much. It's kind of fun that you can kind of cook a little bit.
Bro.
They did. Well, I mean, okay, but like, didn't D'Lo just help his team reach the Western Conference Finals like last year? I think he had
100%, but he's got LeBron and AD on his team, whereas Van Exel got to the second round as like the guy that I think it was the 95 season.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, fair.
That'd be great. Laker fans in the comments and Ellie Angelino people, please let us know who you think. Van Exel all the time right now as a Laker or D'Lo? I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, actually, we should clip this out and put it up on Twitter. See, we should let's get a poll going, because that's a good one. Van Exel or D'Lo's good.
I actually like D'Angelo Russell because
me too.
Because obviously you're gonna like him, but I mean, for me, I liked him because he was like the first top 5 pick I'd ever seen the Lakers have. So it was like the first time I'd seen the Lakers be bad before. So I was kind of rooting for like him to be good. Why not? Because he's playing in my city. I want to at least see good television. So and then I got to watch him live, and I was like, man, this guy does some really spectacular things. And then he obviously ended up being an all-star in Brooklyn, and I'm happy for him that he's gotten his chance to be back, especially in such a relevant situation with a good Laker team. He's in the most ideal situation he's ever been in his career with the Lakers again. So it's kind of like a full circle, feel-good story moment for him and Laker fans. But yeah, Van Exel, my uncle used to say so many things about him, like especially all the kids that grew up in the 90s, the Lakers, and they were Laker fans. I know he means a lot to that generation. So I'm going Team Van Exel. And then rounding out the top 5 right outside is going to be Smush Parker. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, to get that.
Smush Parker, Andrew Gowdlock, Steve Blake. How about Marcelo Huertas? Let's get them all in there.
Oh man, you're oh man, yeah, you're having fun. Yeah, it's a good conversation because the list isn't that extensive when it comes to like truly good. And yeah, D'Lo's definitely up there. And yeah, he'll probably have the single season record for most threes by a point guard. So
power forward and point guard are the weakest all-time Laker positions, but center, small forward, loaded.
Yeah, absolutely stacked. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, PG and center, PG and PF are the weakest ones. Yeah, center and the wings are.
Pau Gasol is the best power forward in Laker history, is he not?
Yeah. I don't think you're gonna get much.
Well, Anthony Davis is trying to make a case, right?
They're interesting because I think when you hear how people talk to, I should probably clip out people talking about both and switch them, and they say the same thing: too passive, soft, get bullied, right?
Anthony Davis,
White Swan, Black Swan, that kind of thing.
I love Pau Gasol, but I just don't think he's as good of a basketball player as Anthony Davis. But is he a greater Laker? That's different because 2 championships, and with Kobe, that was a very meaningful. Pau Gasol is like revered in Los Angeles at this point.
And he beat the Celtics. I mean, it was just to go up against.
He was the player of the game in Game 7.
Yeah, I still remember that dunk he had over KG in Game 7. He screams, and we're like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. So yeah, I think right now it's Powell, but AD, he's got more years. He's younger. He came in, I think, younger, and he's had more time here, and he's not done. Regardless of what happens,
he's not had more time here yet, has he?
No, I'm saying he came in younger. I think he came in younger, age-wise. So he'll have more time to add to the years versus what Powell gave you if he sticks on with his contract and all that. I think when we look back on it at the end, you'll have more years with AD, and he's not on the LeBron window. Like LeBron can go and just bring in a guard, and AD can keep on doing what he's doing. He doesn't show any signs.
if that happens, even if the Lakers don't win another ring, I think AD will be considered a greater Laker. Like to have him have his own spotlight with the Lakers would be an
And if he wins the title, then that puts him even with Powell.
That's not a conversation then after that. But that
that's what I mean.
If I don't think Anthony Davis will do that after LeBron personally, but I think he could still lead a good team.
I think it depends. I think he can. It just depends on who those players are. Who's that guard he's teaming up with? It's definitely possible, I think. But again, that's one. Who knows when LeBron's going to end? I think we've been trying to predict that for like 10 years. And two, of course, AD would have to want to stay and all that stuff, and all that. Who knows? But he has a shot, and that's the difference. Powell's career is done, and it's close already. AD has a chance to make it not close if he with all is said and done. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right. That's all the games we have. And yeah, it's been so fun now, Dime, seeing everyone else get into standings watch, because we've been in it for like a month, and it's like, okay, now welcome to the party. Like the water's warm. We've been out here, we've been taking a look at it. So, and it's been really good because both the East and the West have some compelling matchups, and the West is just monsters. So let's get into it. We'll start on the East. We're going to start with number 10. We have the Atlanta Hawks, 9 Chicago, 8 Indiana, and 7 Philadelphia. That's the play-in teams right now if it all ended. All right, now number 6 in the playoffs, we have the Miami Heat, 5 New York, 4 Orlando, 3 Cleveland, 2 Milwaukee, and number 1, as usual, we have the Boston Celtics. So, Dime, looking at those 10 teams, what stands out to you? What do you want to talk about?
What stands out that the standings that I'm looking at are different than yours.
Okay.
What's Orlando's record in the one that you're looking at?
Okay, I'm looking at the official, not to bury them, but I'm looking at the official Twitter account of the NBA. So we have Orlando at 36-26.
Okay, so mine is not, the one I'm looking at is not updated. Okay, so repeat that again. I'm sorry. Actually, no, don't.
Okay, cool.
That. Don't repeat that. Just repeat it from Chicago and Atlanta are still 9 and 10, right?
Correct.
Give me 8 through 4 again.
Yeah, so we have Indy, Philly, Miami, New York, Orlando, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Boston.
Orlando being 4th is impressive to me. That's wow. Now the Knicks, there's so many injuries happening. It's so unfortunate, man. I think they're going to be really struggling. Embiid being out now, Brunson and Randall and OG, arguably, and Mitchell Robinson, literally the 4 best players in the Knicks are all out. Like, it's just unfortunate. It really opens things up for Indiana and Orlando to potentially get a first-round series win. And then if you're Miami, like, it opens up a chance for another ridiculous run as a low seed.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about Orlando, because I told you I've been on the Orlando. Haven't I said Orlando's been my team? I've been consistent. That's my like league pass team, Orlando.
Yeah, but you started, not doubting them, but first round exit. Which right now, if I had to bet, we'll see. It really depends on the Knicks and Sixers health. Because if they're playing the Knicks or the Sixers without Embiid, I'm taking the Magic. I don't think the Sixers are going to win a series without Embiid.
Yeah, I'll have to find the clip. It was a few months ago. You're right. If you actually look at all the clips where I talk about Orlando, I started kind of selling my stock a little bit. I was like, ooh, they were like 8 or 9, like maybe 2 weeks ago. And again, it's so tight that a little bit of a run and some luck, you can kind of sneak in. They're 4 now. Like you said, New York's having some trouble. Miami's been good though. It's neck and neck. For those not looking at the standings a lot, I'm going to put them up here. If I clip out the East, they have the same win total, New York and Orlando, and Miami only has 1 less win. So this can absolutely flip by next week, no problem.
Yeah, I was also going to say, the Milwaukee Bucks have won 6 straight. I know you said that before, but Glenn Rivers looking like he's starting to figure it out. And the one thing I noticed about them when they played us is that their defensive intensity had really picked up. And one thing, I don't think Glenn's a very good defensive coach. I think Thibodeau made that reputation for him. But I will say this. He had them playing harder, and that's half the battle when it comes to defense.
Mm-hmm. Especially with that team. I think the thing people don't understand about, like, it's frustrating, but as you know, as a coach, so much of it's political. It's management. That's what the job is. It's managing egos, managing people's attitudes and the potential, and it's not just the X's and O's. It's so much more than that when you're a coach. It's what makes Phil Jackson so good. Yes, he was a good coach, but he was really good at getting stars to buy in, getting players to think more about the we. And as much as fans are like, oh, why aren't they always like that? It's like sometimes they also disagree. They're like, I think I'm better than him. Why would I'm trying to help you, and then you're like, no, this is what we got to do, stuff like that. And that's the thing. If he's got the fact that he has, at least from the outside looking in, he's got Dame and Giannis on board. Like you said, it's half the battle. Okay, so now when I tell you do this, do that, you're not pushing back. You're actually listening and you're actually trying, and you can do these things. So there you go. It doesn't take a genius to do that. This team's a good team. They were already a good team before he got there. So if he can just get them to buy into those little things, I still wouldn't pick Milwaukee, just like you said, to win it all. But at least, hopefully, in the Milwaukee, either they do win it all, or whoever you lose to like deservingly so, like a good team, not a collapse, not a team that you weren't supposed to lose to. That's kind of what they're trying to avoid, is a disaster. And it's not early, but it's an ongoing situation. But they're starting to look like they kind of figured it out a little bit, and they're getting the kind of effort they want. Obviously, Giannis missed the previous game, but I think he'll be back. But yeah, they're starting to look good. All right, let's go to the best in the West. This is our conference here. Starting at number 10 in the play-in, we have the Golden State Warriors. Number 9, your LA Lakers. Number 8, Dallas Mavericks. And 7, Sacramento Kings. Now, in the playoffs, don't have to play in the play-in. 6, we have the Phoenix Suns. 5, the New Orleans Pelicans. 4, your LA Clippers. 3, Denver Nuggets. 2, OKC Thunder. And number 1, the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Dime, what stands out to you here in the West?
The Lakers are catching up to the Kings, man. I mean, the Mavericks. They could be in 8 seed territory, which is definitely different. We talked about that. Besides that, New Orleans in 5th. 7-3 in the last 10. That impresses me. As far as the top 4, it still looks like that's going to be the top 4. 2 losses separate Minnesota and us, Clippers. So it's a battle there. It's anyone's ball game for that number 1 seed, 1 through 4 right now.
Yeah, I feel like.
Didn't Booker get hurt, by the way?
Yeah, he's out. He's out for 7 to 10 days.
Okay, it's not very good.
Yeah, and they did lose the night before, but they won tonight, the day of this recording, against the Denver Nuggets, which is a good win in overtime. So they just need to tread water for the next week, and then hopefully when he's reevaluated, he's good to go. But obviously we don't know that. But that's what's been reported. It's going to be 7 to 10 days. So for me, obviously, yes, it's a gauntlet in the West, and for the Lakers, everything's been hitting. Minus that Denver game, they've been on a win streak. I think they've won 3 of the last 4 of their last 5, and Dallas has lost 3 in a row. The Kings have lost some games. Phoenix is struggling right now. The Warriors are winning, but the Lakers winning just as much, so they can't gain ground on either one. They're just kind of both pushing, and then the top's kind of like coming down, and it's getting really tight. I'm not trying to make every game like this is the big game, because I've heard on my mentions every game has been the biggest game of the season for like a week now. So I'm like, okay, I think they're all big. Like, we don't have to describe it. But this upcoming game against the Kings kind of does have some of that feeling. It's tomorrow against the Kings. If the Lakers win that game, they gain a full game on the Kings because they're right there. They'll tie record-wise with Dallas. They won't technically be the 8 seed because Dallas is a tiebreaker. But obviously, we're a little further away from really thinking about that too much because, we still got like 20 games to go. But they'll have the same record as Dallas, and they'll gain a full game on the Kings. They'll only be a half game behind from the Kings, and they'll be even with the Mavericks. So a win there would be enormous because that would give them that edge and save them from the Kings having the series win. Right now, they're up 2-0, but they have 2 more games to go. So the Lakers can gain some ground. It'll force them to go to the next tiebreaker if they end up tied. So the Lakers it's going to be tough. They play the Kings, they play the Bucks. We're gonna preview the games coming up. They have a lot of tough games, but if they can find a way to win more than they lose, there's a chance here. There's a chance for them to even now. We kind of talked about the 6 seed kind of being a pipe dream. They're like 2 games back from the 6 seed, so that's not a pipe dream when there's like 20 games to go. So it's gonna be interesting. I've asked you this before, but let me ask you now: if you had to bet on it, what seed do the Lakers get?
Before the season started, I said 5. That seems. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to take my pick yet.
Oh, wow. You know what? I said they get 53 wins, which they can technically do if they run the table. So I'm going to say the same thing.
On the table. Oh, my goodness. Not a 50-win season this time around.
Mathematically, they have to win every single game left to do it, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens. And, of course, this can change. If they lose 2 games, they could be 10th and start digging a hole that's going to be tough to get out. So, very, very tight in the West. It's going to come down to – looks like it's going to come down to the final week. where everything's going to be kind of, the scenarios are going to just be ridiculous. Like Clippers can go as high as 1, as low as 4. Lakers can go as high as 6, as low as 10. I think it's going to be one of those kind of seasons, which is fun, but kind of nerve-wracking. But hey, I mean, no one can really create true separation in the West. Like no one feels comfortable that they know, oh, I'm definitely going to be at least a 2. Like there's not a team that can say that about anything. So it's just been one of those seasons where everyone's kind of tight and we're going to have to battle it out. So that's where we're at. All right. So let's look at those games that we got to battle out. So I already mentioned we have Lakers Kings. That's going to be on Wednesday, 7:30 here in Los Angeles. Dime, who's going to win that one?
I'm going with the Lakers. You going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be there, and I'm going to go Lakers. Yeah, let's do it. They're going to win it. I think they know what time it is, and they have some tougher games coming up, so I think they should probably win it.
By the way, how was the crowd when D'Lo made that third 3?
They went nuts. That was the loudest they were for sure that game, and they were kind of engaged the whole game because it was kind of a big game against a big team. They were booing Josh Giddey every time he touched the ball. Yeah, they did not forget of his allegations because they let him know every time he touched the ball. So, but the loudest they got was definitely that D'Lo, and it was pandemonium. Everyone was cheering, everyone was going loud. So it was a fun time. And yeah, crypto can be quiet sometimes a little bit, especially starter games, half times, a little quiet. But when they get going and when they know a moment's happening, they were also very loud the entire Nuggets game. They knew, this team hasn't beat this team. Yeah. Like we're bringing it every possession. We don't like these guys. Like, let's go.
I mean, that's a very expensive ticket.
Yeah. Lakers Nuggets was 100%. So they're bringing the energy. They know what time it is. They know we're getting to that clutch time. You're hearing fans now, especially even the casual fans, like, oh yeah, they play Milwaukee next week. They're aware of like what's going on and what's happening and how important these games are. So we're getting to that part of the season where everyone's kind of on the ball. So yeah, we got Lakers Kings. I'm going to go with Lakers as well. It's going to be tough, but I think they're going to take care of it. Same day, James Harden, Houston reunion, Clippers Rockets on ESPN. Dime, what's going to happen on this one?
Clippers going to win it.
Okay, yeah, I agree too. I mean, the Rockets are just kind of they're a young team phoning it in at this point, so I think that they'll take care of business. The only concern is if you fall asleep, but I don't think they'll fall that asleep. So yeah, I got the same thing. All right, then we have Friday. This one's tough. Lakers Bucks. I'm going to start it off here. Unfortunately, I got the Lakers losing this one. I think Giannis is going to play and they're going to be ready and it's going to be a Bucks win. What do you think is going to happen?
I'll go with the same thing. I would say I want you to win because I don't like Glenn Rivers, but I want the Lakers in that 9 or 10 spot against the Warriors. So then one gets knocked out and plays a game for all the marbles.
Well, I don't want that because they still have to win another game. But hey, I mean, last time we beat them, we kind of have the Warriors fans don't want to admit it, but we have their number, man. Like once KD left, it's been a little different. I don't know if you've noticed, but
it's more so once the Lakers got AD.
Yeah. So they've been taking care of business. So I'm not, obviously no one wants to play the Warriors. They're a headache, just like we're a headache. I prefer not to have to worry about Steph Curry and Clay just going off, and Draymond, he does a good job guarding AD. They're an annoying team to play because they are good and they have the pedigree. But I think they would win that series if it comes down to, or that play-in matchup if it comes down to it. But I'd rather not play them. Let it be someone else. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we have Lakers Bucks happening there. Both have the Bucks coming out on top. Saturday, Clippers Bulls, also an early game, 1:00 start, NBA TV. Who do you have coming out of that one?
Is that in Chicago?
No, that's here.
So what day is it? Saturday?
Yep.
I might be able to make it to that one. I hate playing the Bulls. They bring so many fans. We're gonna win. You kidding me?
Yeah, did they bring that many fans? I mean, I saw when at the Lakers one, they were present, but I wouldn't say they were dominant.
2 years ago, it was insane. That was when they had Lonzo and they started out the season really well. It was literally 50% Bulls fans.
Wow.
Crazy.
They do come in though. You do see them, like, for sure. Like when I went to Lakers Bulls, like, noticed there was Bulls fans for sure. So yeah, I don't think it'll be that big, but definitely if you go, let me know. So yeah, I think the same thing. I think Clippers take care of business. Again, the Bulls, they're an interesting team because Kobe White's having a good year and they have a solid roster, but I don't think they can match like a team as polished as the Clippers right now. I just don't see it happening. All right, Sunday. Back like you never left. Clippers Bucks again. What happens this time?
I'll be at that one, and that's the only NBA team, Edwin, that I've never seen play.
Oh, that's
Ever.
amazing.
Yeah, I've
That's
seen every
amazing.
other team. It'll be the last one I can check off the list. I can't wait to see.
You know,
Giannis
I
this time. Huh?
I
I'll
should
see
make a
LeBron.
list. I should make a list because I've seen most teams now that it's what I do for work, but I haven't seen everybody. So I should make a list and see like, hey, who am I missing? Try to see, making sure I knock out everybody. That's interesting. I've never seen the Bucks play. So
Never seen them.
who's gonna win this one?
We're gonna win it because I think you're gonna be pissed about the loss, and let's give Glenn a nice welcome home.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch the vlogs. I have a feeling you're gonna make sure he hears you.
I'm still
Don't get kicked out. Don't get
I'm
kicked
still
out.
a little too far away, to really get Glenn to hear
I
me.
don't think that's gonna matter. I'm not too worried. I know where that section is. I know how quiet the stadium can get, and I know how loud you can get. I'm like, I think he's gonna hear you.
Yeah, maybe.
If you pick your spots, you should be fine. All right, so yeah, they're definitely gonna be interesting. And then the final one here, we got Lakers Timberwolves, 6:30, same day, Sunday. It's gonna be on ESPN. So we're sharing the building still. So it's not still something that we're not sharing. So what do you have happening here, Lakers Timberwolves on Sunday?
I'm going with the Lakers because I want the Timberwolves to lose.
My brain says Timberwolves. My heart says Lakers. I'm gonna go Lakers. We need to, even as hard as these games are, we have to be on the right side of 500. So 2-1's a week. It was a way better week than 1-2. So it's gonna be tough. The Timberwolves. I'm not worried about the Timberwolves as much in a series, but in a game, man, their size is really good. They're gonna be ready. They're gonna be focused. They've been playing well all year. So tough game, but I'm gonna say the Lakers get that one, and that's gonna wrap up our games for this week. Next week, I'm letting everyone, and including Dime, know. We're going to record on Monday, and we're going to do the awards. We're a little late because we should have done them, I think, this episode, but I was like, let's just knock out what we need to knock out. So we'll do the third quarter awards. I'll send you the list, Dime, so you know exactly all the awards that we have to give out. But again, it's MVP, sixth man, most improved, best defensive player, that kind of thing for the team. So we'll see where we're at now that we're at the third quarter mark. We just crossed it this week. So we'll do that, and then we'll I'm thinking, Dime, let's see if you like this idea. I'm thinking let's do the end of year, actually at the end of year, not the fourth quarter, because that way we can actually contextualize the playoffs and see if that changes our mind. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, because I hate how people give out rewards for the playoffs. I'm like, but that's what matters. Like, that's what it was all for. The whole regular season was for the playoffs. I'm like, let's include the playoffs so that fourth quarter award will actually be the end of your award. So we'll have a little bit of a longer run here. So cool. Let's do that. And that concludes episode 20 of Basketball on Figueroa. Once again, I'm Ren Garcia, and my co-host, as usual, Dar-E-N Viziri, aka Dime Dropper. We out.